Very unfortunate comeback for Conor that he did to himself, I guess. We don't know if he had a pre-existing injury though. It's possible. There was a moment where he was kicking off his shoes outside the octagon. He was stumbling. Can't say for sure it was because of an injury there. Maybe he just lost his footing. Happens to everybody if you kick your shoes off like that. It could have been totally normal too. We have no idea. And then there was like a slight imbalance and it looked like he grimaced when he was turning to the stairs after one of the referees was checking his gloves and all that stuff. That they didn't show. And it's possible he came in there with an injury, but then that raises the question, why would he throw this kick if he knew he was injured? Did he want a faster way out? Did he just wanted to throw something out there knowing that he was compromised, so might as well throw something crazy? But that would have aggravated the injury, so I don't know about that. Maybe he thought, I can't pull out again. I pulled out last time against Chandler. I'm not going to do that again. So I'm going to go in there, fight, and try to land something to knock this guy out because I'm clearly not at 100%. That's another theory. We don't know if that's the case. We'll find out later.
My initial video that we made Saturday night, the goal of that was to more look at the injury itself, talk about what I thought was most likely. There, of course, has now been this really widespread conspiracy that McGregor was injured before the fight. Bottom line, yes, absolutely possible. It is certainly possible because a lot of these guys are dealing with injuries coming into these fights to varying degrees. Yes, bottom line, I do think it was possible that he was injured. Is the data convincing that he was injured? No, I don't think so based on everything we've since learned. As he comes down and lands, there is no shifting forward of that tibia. Also, he's coming forward. A lot of his weight being behind his body is a good thing for the ACL. Certainly, we do see that little bit of compromising position, but there's no rotation of the leg. There's no internal rotation of the tibia. If anything, the leg swings outward. And we don't see that shift. We don't see that recoil back upwards in the calf like we do with what I just showed you with Carlos Ulberg.
His body looked fit. His face looked unhealthy. It's going to be tough. The thing is, if he did, I'm not sure the extent of his injuries. If it's a torn ACL after 5 years away, that's another year on the sideline. At his age, I think he's done. If he tore his ACL, he's done. He'll never come back the same. That was the big question coming into this one. Can he pull it all together after this horrific injury and come back?
Conor McGregor's highly anticipated rematch ended in heartbreaking fashion. But the biggest revelation came after the fight when he opened up about the emotional struggle he's been carrying. Describing the experience as hell, McGregor vowed that this setback wouldn't define him, leaving fans wondering whether another comeback is still possible for the former two-division UFC champion. As sports physician Dr. Bryan carefully reviewed the fight footage frame by frame, he spotted details that challenged the popular narrative surrounding Conor's injury. Instead of seeing the obvious signs of a devastating ACL tear, there was no major tibia movement, no severe instability, and none of the textbook indicators usually linked to that type of damage. His breakdown suggested the injury may have been far less severe, with a meniscus issue becoming the more realistic explanation and sparking fresh debate across the MMA community.
Whenever the ACL is torn, and we don't see that here with McGregor. We don't see any recoil backup of the calf. And if we go and we look at what happened with Carlos Ulberg when he injured his knee, what I want you to pay attention to is that shift, because that shift is what we call pathognomonic. If you see it, you know it's a torn ACL. Now, just because you don't see that shift and pop back doesn't mean it's not an ACL, but seeing it makes me very concerned, and you would say obvious ACL. This was here with Ulberg, right, when he was fighting Prochazka. You see as he stepped backwards to plant on that right leg, we're gonna see that tibia is a little bit shifted forward relative to his femur. What you really wanna watch for is as we advance, watch how his calf, right there, kind of pops back up. And so that transition in those few frames where we go from seeing that prominence of that tibial tuberosity shifted forward to then as we click through, boom, it kind of pops back up. That's what I'm referring to by seeing this shift that you'll often see when you look in slow-mo when these athletes have ACL injuries. With Conor here, we did not see that. We had every angle to see it, and we don't see it. As he comes down and lands, there is no shifting forward of that tibia. Also, he's coming forward. A lot of his weight being behind his body is a good thing for the ACL. Certainly, we do see that little bit of compromising position, but there's no rotation of the leg. There's no internal rotation of the tibia. If anything, the leg swings outward. And we don't see that shift. We don't see that recoil back upwards in the calf like we do with what I just showed you with Carlos Ulberg. So that's why I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic that this isn't an ACL. Yes, we absolutely have to be concerned about the ACL, but I'm still hopeful that this is just a lateral meniscus tear.
One of the biggest talking points centered on a moment before the fight when McGregor appeared to struggle while taking off his shoe and briefly avoided placing full weight on his right leg. Many fans immediately treated it as proof that he walked into the octagon already injured. However, Bryan urged people not to overreact, explaining that a single awkward movement isn't enough to confirm a significant knee problem before the bout even began.
So now let's talk more about the shoe part of this, because yes, I think this is really the only thing that I would look at and say, yeah, I could see where there's a little bit of an injury. We don't see him really tending to favor that right leg as he's going to take the shoe off, right? Yeah, maybe there's a little bit. So, right, he's trying to pull it off with his foot. We see a little bit of a stumble as he's trying to maintain his balance, and then he doesn't want to put that right leg down. That, to me, does suggest somebody who's a little bit apprehensive of putting weight on their right leg. And so seeing just this, I would be more on that side of yes, previous injury. But then we see this video of him warming up pre-fight, and this does not look like somebody who's got a knee injury.
The discussion shifted once footage from Conor's locker room warm-up surfaced, painting a completely different picture. He drove explosively off his right leg, fired powerful kicks, and moved with confidence without showing the hesitation expected from someone hiding a serious knee injury. After reviewing every sequence, Bryan argued that the evidence simply didn't resemble an athlete dealing with a major ACL injury, making this one of the strongest arguments that McGregor entered the fight in much better condition than many believed.
I think there's enough there that, like, yeah, you see this, it looks pretty good. Like, he lands single leg. This does not look to me like somebody who's dealing with a right knee injury. We see him land on that leg multiple times as he goes to kick, right up here, there he goes. Kind of comes down, he explodes off that leg, he's kicking with it. Now, the only different thing is he doesn't land quite as awkward on this warm up here, right, as he comes up and jumps and lands. He's in that same position with that trunk kind of tilted over the injured side, but he doesn't look hesitant. He never looks down to grab at his knee. I understand that sort of idea that, like, well, why would you be putting your body through this in the warm-up? If you had a compromised leg, you'd surely have a different game plan. So the shoe coming off in the walkout, yeah, I could see that being consistent with being hesitant about putting weight on that right leg. But then when you see these warm-up clips of him, like, back in the locker room, this puts me much more on the side of, like, no, that knee looked to be in pretty good shape, at least when he was out there warming up. Now, maybe something happened between, but this, to me, in the warm-ups does not look like somebody dealing with a knee injury.
After examining every available angle, Dr. Bryan delivered a conclusion that went against many of the viral claims. While he acknowledged that Conor could have been managing a minor meniscus issue before the event, he found very little evidence supporting the theory that a serious ACL injury existed before the opening bell. Based on the explosive movement shown during warm-ups, he believes the significant damage most likely happened during the fight itself rather than before McGregor stepped into the cage.
So to put it all together, I think there is more evidence now watching that pre-fight warm-up video. I would say there is more evidence against a pre-existing knee injury than there is evidence for a pre-existing knee injury. You can never rule out one or the other. You can never definitively prove one or the other without Conor coming out and saying, but, like, what's the benefit to him of coming out and saying he had an injury? We're probably not going to hear anything about anything previous. Remember, at his age, with the sport that he's done, there's probably some degree of trauma to that knee. It would not be unheard of if he had a previous meniscus injury that maybe was completely asymptomatic, and then whenever he fought, landed twisted, caused a progression of a tear, caused a new bucket handle tear that made it impossible for him to continue. I certainly do not think he had a previous ACL tear that he came into the fight with. We would not have seen him do that warm-up. We would not have seen that much stability or that much function this acutely after an ACL injury. So I think the only possibility here is that there was maybe a previous meniscus injury. But again, the warm-up video looks far better than I think the taking off the shoe video looks bad, if that makes sense.
Dr. Bryan emphasized that the official diagnosis will determine how quickly Conor can begin his road to recovery. If the damage is limited to a meniscus tear, he believes McGregor could resume training within a matter of weeks. But if doctors confirm an ACL tear, the rehabilitation process could stretch close to a full year, leaving his fighting future surrounded by uncertainty until the medical results are officially released.
Going forward with all this, McGregor, of course, has had surgery. We still don't know what that means. If this is just a meniscus injury, the surgery might honestly be as simple as going in and cutting out the torn piece of tissue in the meniscus, and he could be back sparring in like 6 weeks. When they go in and do surgery for a meniscus tear, the goal is to repair the tear. The goal is to suture back that torn tissue, especially in the lateral or the outer meniscus, to try and maintain the biomechanic function, the stability, that roll of the meniscus. But sometimes surgeons don't know until they get in there. And so this could be we'll have to wait and see until we get in there again if this is a meniscus tear. Surgery for a meniscus repair is often going to have a 3 to 6 month recovery timeframe. If this is an ACL, then yes, we're looking at more like 10 to 12 months, probably around a year, to where I would expect to see at the earliest Conor back next summer or probably next fall.
Dustin Poirier shared his honest assessment of McGregor's condition, saying that although Conor's physique still appeared strong and well built, his face reflected the toll of years outside consistent elite competition. He suggested that lifestyle choices may finally be catching up with the former champion and warned that if an ACL tear is confirmed, combined with McGregor's age and lengthy absence, returning to his previous level would become an enormous challenge. According to Poirier, Conor's toughest fight is no longer against another opponent, but against time, recovery, and everything his body has endured.
But definitely he looked bloated. I thought his face looked a little shiny under his eyes, looked a little full. His cheeks looked full. You know, that could be because he's been living an unhealthy lifestyle.
100%.
Also, he is fighting up at welterweight. You know, that's 15 pounds heavier than his normal weight class at 155. But I don't feel like 15 pounds would make you your face that bloated. I don't know what's going on. His body looked fit. His face looked unhealthy. It's going to be tough. The thing is, if he did, I'm not sure the extent of his injuries. If it's a torn ACL after 5 years away, that's another year on the sideline. At his age, I think he's done. If he tore his ACL, he's done. He'll never come back the same. That was the big question coming into this one. Can he pull it all together after this horrific injury and come back? But how many times can you cry wolf before the fans are like, we're not breaking ticket gate records anymore. We're not flying across the world to watch you fight. We know what we get with you. How many times can you do this before people start moving on? He has to ask himself, what is he doing? He's almost 40 years old. He's been out 5 years. If his knee's blown out, it's another year. With the record-breaking career he's had, I would just hate to see him be a freak show fighter like that and only come out for these exhibitions and I don't want to see that. That's not real fighting to me.
The Weasel was stunned by the decision McGregor made, questioning why he would risk his long-awaited return by throwing a flashy hopping switch kick against an opponent as sharp and experienced as Max Holloway. In his opinion, Holloway saw the attack developing well in advance, making it a low-success technique that was unlikely to connect. Rather than creating a memorable highlight, that single choice instantly sent Conor's comeback spiraling in the worst possible direction.
But honestly, I really question why he even threw this kick. What was he thinking? Like, he throws this weird hopping switch kick at Max. I don't know what told him that he was going to land this on someone like Max Holloway. It didn't even get close. I mean, look how far away he throws the kick. Expecting this to land on someone like Max is crazy. Max is such a good fighter, very mobile, elusive in the stand-up. It's not going to land on him. And Max sees it from a mile away, picks up his guard, moves away, causes the kick to miss, and Conor lands wrong, blowing out his knee, and that was it. I mean, he threw another kick after, looked like he wanted to test his knee if it was still okay, and off of the second high kick, that misses as well, and his knee buckles once more. Absolutely tore something in his knee for sure, and he's going to be out for a very long time. Conor's done. He should retire.
According to the Weasel, the entire fight changed the instant McGregor's knee gave way following his opening kick. Even after attempting another kick to test the leg, the same problem resurfaced, convincing him that the injury had already become serious. What fans expected to be a historic comeback quickly turned into a heartbreaking setback within the opening moments of the contest.
First he broke his left leg, now he injured his right leg, and it's pretty interesting because now in both Max fights, his knee got injured. In the first one, Max injured it in a grappling exchange, and in this one, for the second fight, Conor injures it himself, throwing a very unnecessary technique. This did not need to be thrown at all. I mean, expecting this to land on Max is insane. Out the gate like that for your big return. He must have been extremely confident in this kick. He threw it from so far too. He wanted the grand moment. He wanted the big comeback and finish it spectacularly. That's probably what he meant when he said that Max was not going to lay a glove on him. Because not only did he think this was going to land, but he probably thought this was gonna knock Max out too.
The Weasel also praised Max Holloway's elite fight IQ, explaining that the moment Max realized McGregor's leg was compromised, he immediately built his game plan around it. Every leg kick, stomp, and burst of pressure further weakened Conor's base, taking away the balance he needed to unleash his dangerous left hand. In a matter of moments, Holloway transformed McGregor's injury into the biggest factor behind the outcome of the fight.
Well, after he falls from the second kick, Max throws some ground and pound shots, Conor kicks him away, and right away Max starts targeting that leg with kicks. Throws a few leg kicks at him. It causes Conor's left hand to be thrown very awkwardly. He can't get his balance right. Max tries a stomp on the knee. Very intelligent by him. You know, he sees an opponent who has a weakness. He's going to attack it to win the fight. Very cerebral from Max. And Conor evades it. He actually picks his leg above it. And this could have been a perfect side kick if he wasn't injured there. Look how the leg's already chambered. Just a side kick straight into the body would have been perfect as a counter. But then after Conor tries to measure for the left hand, he parries the lead to open up the center. But when he steps to throw it, he loses balance again, falls to his knees, and Max lands a right hand, throws more ground and pound, and you can see Max is already asking the ref to step in. Conor's clearly hurt, and the fight is only going to get worse. Conor kept fighting though. Conor gets back up, and he goes to feint a knee. He picks up his left knee, which is putting all of his weight on his right leg that is injured. And that causes him to stumble once again, and the fight was over.
The Weasel didn't mince words when discussing McGregor's opening attack, calling it a costly miscalculation that failed to account for Holloway's outstanding movement and awareness. From his perspective, Conor wasn't defeated because Max overwhelmed him offensively. He was undone by his own decision-making, giving Holloway the perfect opportunity to seize control. One risky gamble wiped away years of anticipation almost instantly.
Regardless, I think it was just an unnecessary move to throw. That is clearly underestimating Max Holloway to be throwing something like that at him. Like, it could probably work against Marcus Brimage, you know, but it's not going to work on someone like Max. That's insane. And Max didn't even have to throw a punch. Conor took himself out of the fight, and that was the easiest payday ever for Max. He walked in, didn't have to throw a punch, walked out with millions, and said he was going to go to the craps table. I mean, why not? Can't complain. I really understand why Max wants the third one. Maybe Conor injures himself again and he gets millions on top of that too.
As the rematch is over, the debate surrounding Conor McGregor's injury is only getting bigger. Brian's medical breakdown, Dustin Poirier's reaction, and the Weasel's analysis have all pointed in different directions. Was Conor already injured before the fight, or did everything change inside the Octagon? Until the official diagnosis is revealed, the MMA world remains divided. One thing is certain, McGregor's comeback didn't end the way anyone expected. Questions about his injury, recovery, and future continue to dominate the MMA world, and we'll be here covering every major update as the story unfolds. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more MMA news and fight analysis. Let us know in the comments, do you think Conor's injury happened before the fight or inside the Octagon?